My parents have never liked my oldest son, Nathaniel. He was my godson and the child of my best friend and her wife. My friend Sarah had been out and proud since she was 12. Her parents were super supportive and were the best allies I could imagine even before she told them. Sarah and I went to middle school and became friends. I had a massive crush on her until she explained she was into girls. First, I was confused. Then I accepted it, and our friendship changed and got stronger. My parents hated her, not for breaking my heart or anything, just because she was gay. I told them I wasn't going to stop being friends with her, and that I would rather be friends with her than their kid if they tried to make me choose. Fortunately for my parents, Sarah and her family moved, but we stayed in contact with email and MySpace. Out of sight, out of mind for my parents. Sarah and I both applied, and were accepted to the same college. 2 years in, we moved out of dorms and got an apartment together. She was the best wing person ever. Sorry for the backstory. She met and married her wife. They needed a donor. I fit their criteria. I agreed so long as we had a contract that took any financial responsibility away from me. They agreed, and I became Uncle Kaiden. I was in their son's life from the moment he was born. Well, not the moment. When he came out of the room, not the birth canal. I also became his father figure and godfather. We were going to tell him when he was old enough to understand. Then I met my wife and got married. She knew the whole story because I didn't want her to think I would keep such important details of my life a secret. We have 2 children together. I am LC with my parents for multiple reasons. Their homophobia is low on the list of them, if that gives you any idea how my parents are. They attended our wedding and have spent time with both of our kids. We did not deny them the opportunity to be grandparents. We just don't go out of our way to include them. Sarah and her wife passed away in a boating accident. Nate was with Sarah's parents at the time. I became his guardian and adopted him ASAP. He was 12. I make sure he sees his relatives on both of his mother's sides. I will continue to do so until he is old enough to go by himself. It has made for a confusing and bittersweet family. None of them knew I am not just his dad, but also his father. My parents, on the other hand, have always tried to exclude him. I have made it clear to them that he is my son and I won't put up with their shoot. I also didn't tell them the truth because I was afraid they would tell him before we were ready. We told Nate when he turned 16. He laughed and said he had figured it out a long time ago but was humoring me and his moms by pretending he didn't. He has always been a smartass. He also said he was more than happy with his 2 sets of grandparents and did not feel he was missing much with my folks. My wife's parents love him too. It came to a head in February. My parents received an inheritance from my grandmother passing away. They don't need the money, so they contacted me to see if they could put money into the kids' education funds. I thanked them and agreed. I told them that they could send me the money and I would split it up into all 3 accounts. Nathaniel has a good fund that we topped off since we got money from his mom's insurance. We also rented out their old house and used that money for expenses. My wife and I both work and have pretty decent accounts for our kids, but extra money won't hurt. My parents said that they only wanted me to split it 2 ways. Just my kids with my wife would be getting money. I then said thanks, but no thanks. I would not be excluding one of my kids because they were terrible people. They ended up opening accounts by themselves for my kids. Nothing I can do about that. My grandparents also set up a trust fund for their descendants to draw from when they turn 18. It isn't a lot of money, but every little bit helps these days. Nate is graduating next year, so we submitted the paperwork to get him that money. My uncle is one of the trustees, and he told my parents, and they freaked out that I never told them that Nate was my kid. I take them they were jerks because they knew I adopted him, and that fact alone made him my kid. Huge argument. You know what we mean. How could you keep him from us? Blah, blah, blah. I said that for 5 years they have always behaved badly towards him. Even though he was my son, why would I include them more in his life? They are saying that they will sue for grandparents' rights. I laughed in their faces. I literally have a letter from them saying that they do not consider him their grandchild. As I said, we are LC with them, but my sisters both think I am being overly cruel, even though they also see our parents very little. I think my son didn't miss much by not interacting with people that absolutely would have said shitty things about his original parents. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Wait. I want to be the fly on the wall when they go to a lawyer's office to fight for grandparents' rights, them. We want to sue. Lawyer. Okay, how old is the kid in question? Them. Not sure, 17 or 18. He's getting ready to go to college. Maybe he knows how to drive and has a car, but we wouldn't know because we've refused to see him and recognize him as our grandchild his entire life. Lawyer. Ethical dilemma. Do I be nice and kick them out of my office? Or take their money for shits and giggles? Comment 2. Just to be sure I have this correct, your hateful parents are upset you didn't tell them you were the donor to your friend's son's creation, thus making you the father and godfather of the kid, whom you then adopted after your friend's and her wife's untimely passing, and you're somehow the jerk for not telling them about a child they ignored and possibly emotionally mistreated? Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been about 3 months since my last post, and I wanted to give you all an update on what's been happening. First off, thanks for all the support and advice you gave me last time. It really helped me feel like I was doing the right thing. So, here's what's been going on. My parents decided to follow through with their threat and actually filed for grandparents' rights. I couldn't believe it when I got served the papers. I thought they were just bluffing, but apparently not. I was so angry and frustrated, but I knew I had to stay calm for Nate's sake. The whole legal process was a nightmare. We had to go to court and everything. My parents tried to argue that they had a right to be in Nate's life and that I was keeping them from him unfairly. They even brought up some old photos of them with Nate when he was a baby, trying to prove that they had a relationship with him. But the thing is, those photos were from before Sarah and her wife passed away. Since then, they've barely made any effort to be in his life. I had to testify about all the times they excluded Nate and made him feel unwelcome. It was hard to relive all those moments, but I knew it was important for the judge to understand the full picture. Nate even had to testify, which was really tough for him. He talked about how he always felt like an outsider around my parents, and how they never treated him the same as my other kids. In the end, the judge ruled in our favor. They said that my parents didn't have a strong enough relationship with Nate to justify granting them visitation rights. It was a huge relief, but at the same time, it was really sad. I hate that it had to come to this. The whole experience really made me reflect on my relationship with my parents. I realized that I had been holding on to a lot of anger and resentment towards them for years. Not just because of how they treated Nate, but because of how they treated me growing up. They were always so controlling and judgmental, and I never felt like I could be myself around them. I decided to write them a letter, explaining how I felt and why I made the decisions I did. I told them about how much it hurt me to see them reject Nate and how I couldn't stand by and let them treat him like that. I also told them about some of the things they did when I was a kid that really affected me, like the time they grounded me for a month because I got a B on a test. Writing that letter was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also really cathartic. I didn't expect them to respond, but a few weeks later, I got a letter back from my mom. She apologized for everything and said that she and my dad were going to start going to therapy to work on their issues. It was a small step, but it gave me hope that maybe things could get better between us someday. As for Nate, he's doing really well. He's excited to start college next year, and he's been working hard to finish up his senior year strong. We've been spending a lot of time together as a family, and I feel like we're closer than ever. The other day, he even told me that he's glad everything happened the way it did because it made him realize how much I love and support him. So that's where things are at now. It's been a crazy few months, but I feel like we're coming out the other side stronger than ever. Thanks again for all your support and advice. It really means a lot to me. Ada for not forgiving my brother's fiancé after she ruined my birthday outfit and lied about it. I, 17-year-old female, have an older brother Jacob, 26-year-old male, and he's engaged to Amber, 27-year-old female, who's pregnant. They've been together for 9 years. My parents were letting them stay with us while they planned for the wedding, baby, and looked for a bigger apartment. I guess some context for this would be that Amber does not have a good relationship with her parents since they disapproved of her dating my brother. For whatever reason, she's pretty close to my parents. My 18th birthday is coming up next weekend, and my mom and dad have been pretty excited about planning for it with me. I decided to get a new dress, corset belt, and flats so I could look nice for it since we're inviting some of my relatives over for lunch at Olive Garden and dinner at home. I paid for it all since my parents were already paying for the lunch, dinner, cake, and gifts. Ever since Amber found out what I was doing for my birthday, she had been making little remarks about how excessive it seemed for just one kid, and how she didn't celebrate her 18th like I was going to. It was a little weird to me, especially since Jacob got an entire room rented out at our local community center for his, but I brushed it off since my birthdays that Amber had been around for were much more low-key. She also briefly gave me this weird look when she came into my room to ask about something, and saw the dress hanging on my closet door. Yesterday, I came home to see my mom and dad yelling at Amber in the living room. I asked what was happening, and apparently, my mom caught Amber ripping out the soles of my new shoes. That wasn't the only thing Amber did. She also went at my dress and belt with scissors, cutting the ribbons and lace. I asked her why she would do that, but she didn't answer me, or my parents when they asked themselves. We just stayed in the living room in an awkward silence until my brother came home an hour later. My parents gave him the rundown of what happened, and he did seem shocked that Amber would do this. My parents said point blank that either he or Amber had to pay me back for what she destroyed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was only until I said the combined cost of what I had brought that Amber piped up and refused to pay. She would have to take that money from their baby fund, and it wasn't fair that my parents were doing all of this for me despite knowing what her home life and relationship with her parents were like. It devolved into an argument between my parents and Jacob and Amber, where my brother was defending her, saying it was just pregnancy hormones getting to her, and that we should just let it go. Eventually, my dad had enough, and told them if neither of them were going to pay, then they had to get out and stay at a hotel or something in the meantime. My mom agreed with him. My brother and Amber seemed to think my parents were bluffing until my mom handed them gas money. They left with their bags packed 30 minutes later in a huff. Jacob has been texting me, begging for me to get our parents to let it go. He told me that I would be a shitty sister and aunt if I let my unborn niece be out on the streets over something I probably would only wear once. Edit. The whole outfit cost $79. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. First off, a 27-year-old woman behaving like that is mind-boggling. Second, if math works, she has been with your brother since he was 17 years old, and therefore would have been around for his 18th birthday, and seen how your parents go out for their kids' 18th birthdays? Or maybe they got together just after? Edit. Forgot to type parents. Comment 2. For $79, if the baby is on the street for lack of that money, they really shouldn't have decided to have a child. Not the idiot and tell your parents he is hassling you. I hope you get a beautiful new outfit and enjoy your party. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I'm still trying to process it all. Sorry if this is a little rough, but I'm confused and need to vent. After Jacob and Amber left, things were tense at home. My parents were upset about what happened, but they tried to focus on planning my birthday. I felt guilty, even though I knew it wasn't my fault. I couldn't stop thinking about what Jacob said about being a shitty sister and aunt. A few days later, I decided to reach out to Amber. I thought maybe if we talked, we could clear the air and find a way to move past this. I sent her a text asking if we could meet up for coffee. To my surprise, she agreed. We met at a local cafe, and at first, things were awkward. But as we started talking, Amber opened up. She told me about her childhood, how her parents always favored her younger sister and made her feel like she was never good enough. She said that seeing my parents plan this big celebration for me brought back all those feelings of inadequacy. I listened and tried to be understanding. I told her that I was sorry for what she went through, but that it wasn't fair to take it out on me. She apologized for ruining my dress and shoes and said she'd find a way to pay me back. We left the cafe on better terms, and I thought things might be looking up, but a few days later, I got a call from Jacob. He was furious. Apparently, Amber had told him about our conversation, but she twisted my words, making it seem like I had been gloating about my birthday and rubbing it in her face. Jacob started yelling at me, saying I was a selfish brat who didn't care about anyone but myself. He said that if I couldn't be supportive of Amber during her pregnancy, then I didn't deserve to be a part of their baby's life. I was stunned. I tried to explain what really happened, but he wouldn't listen. He hung up on me, and I haven't heard from him since. My parents were furious when I told them what happened. They said that Jacob and Amber were being unreasonable, and that they wouldn't tolerate this kind of behavior. They decided to cancel the big birthday celebration and just have a small family dinner instead. I was disappointed, but I understood. I didn't want to cause any more drama or stress for my parents. But a part of me couldn't help but feel like Amber had won. She had managed to ruin my birthday and drive a wedge between me and my brother. Looking back, I realized that there were signs that Amber had some deep-seated issues with her own family. I remember her mentioning once how her parents always compared her to her sister and made her feel like she was never good enough. I wish I had paid more attention and tried to be more understanding. But at the same time, I know that what she did was wrong. It's not fair to take out your own insecurities and traumas on other people. I just hope that someday, Jacob will realize that and come around. Anyway, that's where things stand now. My birthday is in a few days, and I'm trying to focus on the positive. I'm grateful for my parents and the small celebration we'll have, and I'm hopeful that someday, my relationship with my brother can be repaired. Thanks for listening, everyone. It helps to get this off my chest. AIT for divorcing my husband after he neglected our dogs and talked to his ex. I, 34-year-old female, am married to my husband, 36-year-old male, and have been for 3 years. I have 2 dogs that I have had since before I married him. My dogs are like my children, and he knows this, and I thought that was how he thought of them. My job requires me to go on a lot of trips throughout the month. These trips can vary from 3 days to 3 weeks. Before I started this job, I did talk to my husband as I explained I would be away a lot, and it would leave him to take care of the house. Before you say it's not his job to take care of the dogs. I did say he wouldn't have to do much. Just feed them dinner as I would feed them breakfast unless I'm away, and that's it, as I would walk them when I get home. He agreed, and it all seemed fine. Now, fast forward to a month ago, I had a work trip coming up, and it was quite a long one. It would be for 2 weeks, and I had prepared my husband for it, telling him what needs to be done. He told me not to worry, and he would be fine, so I left it at that. On the day I had to leave for my trip, I said goodbye and got in the taxi. When I arrived, I settled in and did the usual. However, I got a text from my mom asking if something happened with my dogs. I was really confused and asked her what she meant. She said she went round to drop off some things and saw my dogs tied up on the front porch. I was shocked and told her to send a picture. I told her to untie my dogs and take them with her, and I would cancel my trip and come home. Once I got home and opened the front door, my husband was in the living room on the phone with someone, sounding alarmed. I tried to act normal and walked up to him. He seemed surprised to see me and then very worried. I asked him what's wrong, and he said he lost my dogs. I knew what had really happened, but I played along. I said, "How?" And he sheepishly told me he had locked them outside for making too much noise and someone must have taken them. I was disappointed, to say the least. I asked him why would he do that, and he said they were annoying him, and it shouldn't be his responsibility. I went upstairs, packed a bag, and left to go stay at my mom's. He asked me where I was going as I tried to leave the door. I said I was taking a break to think things over. Since I got to my mom's, he has been blowing up my phone, calling me over dramatic. Even my mother-in-law has been calling me dramatic and selfish. I haven't told him I have my dogs. But it's not just about that. It's about the fact that I don't trust him anymore. I have decided to get a divorce after speaking to my mom and best friend. My dogs are my priority. Let me know, am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. When I went on a 2-week-long vacation back to my home country to visit my family and friends, my husband stayed behind with his 2 dogs and my cat. He is allergic to my cat and isn't super bonded with her. I was nervous about leaving her behind as I've had her for 13 years. Every day he would take a picture of my cat and send it to me, and would give me updates on her health, behavior, etc. Why? Not because he loves the cat, but because he loves me and understands how much my cat means to me. Your husband is a huge AH. Comment 2. You clearly communicated with your husband about your job requirements and the care of your dogs while you were away. He agreed to take on the responsibility, so it's not unreasonable for you to expect him to follow through with that agreement. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last post and a lot has happened. First of all, thank you for all your support and advice. It really means a lot to me during this difficult time. After staying at my mom's for a few days, I decided to go back home and confront my husband about what happened with the dogs. When I got there, he was sitting on the couch looking worried. I told him I knew what he had done and that I had the dogs with me. He tried to apologize and said he was just frustrated with the noise they were making, but I couldn't accept that as an excuse. We ended up having a long conversation about our relationship and the issues we've been having. It turns out that he's been feeling neglected and resentful of my job for a while now. He said he feels like I prioritize work over our marriage and that he's always left to take care of everything at home. I was shocked to hear this because I thought we had talked about it before I took the job, and he seemed okay with it. As we kept talking, some other things came out that I had no idea about. Apparently, his ex-girlfriend had reached out to him a few months ago and they had been talking on and off. He swore nothing physical happened, but he admitted that he enjoyed the attention and felt like she understood him better than I did. I was devastated to hear this and felt like I couldn't trust him anymore. We decided to take some time apart to figure out what we both want. I'm staying with my mom for now and focusing on my dogs and my job. It's been really hard, but I know I need to do what's best for me and my mental health. Looking back, I realized that there were some red flags in our relationship that I ignored. He always had a bit of a temper and would get easily frustrated with small things. I remember one time early in our relationship, he got mad at me for not doing the dishes and threw a plate across the room. I brushed it off as a one-time thing, but now I see that it was part of a pattern. I also think about how he proposed to me. It was really sudden and unexpected, and I remember feeling a bit pressured to say yes. We had only been dating for a year and I wasn't sure if I was ready, but he was so excited and I didn't want to disappoint him. Now I wonder if I made the right decision. I'm not sure what the future holds for us, but I know that I need to prioritize my own happiness and well-being. My dogs have always been there for me, and I won't let anyone come between us again. Thank you again for all your support and advice. It's been a tough week, but I'm taking things one day at a time and trying to stay positive. I'll keep you all updated on how things go. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.